David Bennett with Financiers Mortgage Group right here in way out wild and wacky Fort Worth, Texas. We've been the mortgage approval experts since 1984 and have been in the business since 1974. We're also one of the few, if not the only, top-tier lenders in the Metroplex, so expect more from us. Now, based upon how many people have been viewing them, our recent credit videos, such as the one on rebuilding credit with its list of all secured credit cards, as well as the video on how to get and keep high credit scores, appear to have been very useful. So here's another video in that same educational and helpful vein. We're going to talk about appraisals this week because things have changed so much in the appraisal world. And low appraisals are literally taking billions of dollars out of sellers' pockets nationwide.
No me gusta café prieto, mira cómo va, ritmo de esta orquesta.
But before we go into appraisals, you might wonder why and how we know so much about credit. Well, it's because we help so many of our customers improve their situation so they can get a better loan, a better down payment, a better interest rate, or just be able to get a loan. Rates and closing costs are set so far above our pay grade that all any lender brings to the table are their extras. Extras like free help with your credit report, maybe more experience and knowledge than the next guy, or some loan types others don't have. But mostly, it's just the willingness to work a little harder than the next guy. Now, one of the extras we bring to the table is our top tier lender status, which puts us in the top 10% of the nation. It gives us a certain amount of latitude with the underwriters and gives us a few loan types and options some other lenders don't have. For instance, we can do both FHA and VA loans down to a 560 credit score. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have jumbo loans available up to $2 million. Another example of an extra would be a lender that takes the time to deal with low appraisals. I recently did a 15-page rebuttal with 42 pictures and got an appraisal up $80,000. Took over 2 weeks to do it, as disputing an appraisal is no longer a simple act. The sad fact is that you can no longer just order an appraisal and expect the best from an appraiser. And disputing appraisal is no longer a simple thing, so you have to do everything in your power to ensure that it never comes down to that. So one of the new laws and rules on appraisals is either this or this. The total manner in which appraisals are done has been changed. From the way we have to order appraisals, not being able to pick our appraiser, no longer being able to talk to the appraiser in any way, trying to find a way to get sales data to the appraiser, disagreeing with the value or conditions, contesting the appraisal. In other words, everything about the system has changed. And one of the biggest issues that under the new system, mediocre appraisal techniques and appraisals are rewarded. Now, under the old system, an appraiser fought to do a good job so he or she could get repeat business. But under the new system, you don't get to choose your appraiser, and no matter how bad a job the appraiser does, they're going to get repeat business. You have to order through a third-person appraisal management company, and then they assign an appraiser to your property based upon which one will do it the cheapest, and the AMC gets to pocket the difference. Now, under the law, there must be a pool of appraisers the AMC picks from. You no longer get to shop for the best appraiser, one who knows the area, one who can do it quickly, or even shop for price. Consequently, the price of appraisals has gone up significantly, and at the same time, the quality has fallen, and the time to complete has lengthened. Great new system we have here, but just like the credit scoring system, it is the system we have, so you need to learn to work within the system as best you can. So what do we have to do to ensure you don't have to dispute an appraisal? Well, the answer is it begins before the appraisal is ever done. Presently, the only person who can have contact with or give information to the appraiser is the seller or the builder. So it's very important that you talk to the appraiser since no one else can. But the process begins even before they come out. It's very important that you query the appraiser when he or she calls to make an appointment. Find out where they're located and find out if they've done any appraisals in your area recently. If they're coming from too far away or haven't done any appraisals in your area, then don't make an appointment. It's far easier and faster to get a different appraiser than it is to contest a bad appraisal. And if you're a builder, you absolutely, positively need to meet the appraiser at the property. Tell them the doors are locked and they must come to the sales office to get a key. This also lets you know they've actually been out there. Now, the best way is to prepare for the worst and presume the appraiser will be an idiot. And how often will you be wrong? Be prepared with all the sales and comp data to give the appraiser spelled out as if you were giving it to a third grader. Don't scrimp here. If it ain't in writing, it ain't. With some appraisers, if it's not in MLS, it ain't. So builders, list your properties with MLS. Now 2 + 2 must equal 4 in your data without the appraiser even seeing the house. Appraisers are not allowed to make any leaps of faith. And if any of your comps aren't in MLS, you better already have acquired all the house data, not just the address, price, number of bedrooms, and square footage, plus give the appraiser phone numbers and names to be able to confirm it. It's far easier and faster to gather the data yourself than it is to contest a bad appraisal. Go out of your way because the appraiser won't. Now, this all becomes especially important if your house is valued at the high end of the area or size. You need to document why it's worth more than the others. Size is one thing, but the extras can matter more. Another thing to worry about is if the buyer's rolling in all their closing costs, you run the risk of pricing the home too high. Check for comps before you finish the contract. Now here's a small little problem with gathering the data for the appraiser. The law now says that if you try to influence the appraisal, you can go to jail. This means if the appraiser doesn't want your information, then don't keep insisting he take it. That's trying to influence the appraisal.
So it becomes a double-edged sword. You're damned if you try too hard to be sure they know what they're doing, but you're also damned if you don't.
So this means that in that very first phone conversation, you need to also tell the appraiser you have some sales information to give him when he gets there. If they aren't receptive or don't want it, simply don't make the appointment. Most of the major issues can be overcome by a little simple questioning prior to making that appointment. You don't have to accept any appraiser, but once they've done the appraisal, it's now against the law to order another one. Yep, just one more way things have changed. Now, fortunately, if you're working with a multi-source lender like financiers, we can just change sources and then order a new appraisal. Except on FHA and VA, where the appraisal travels with the property. Of course, if we did that, that would mean any locks you might have would disappear, and it means someone has to pay for a second appraisal, and then there's all that extra time. So you see, it's absolutely critical that we get the right appraiser in the first place. Unfortunately, you are the only one that can talk to the appraiser and ask these questions. Lenders are completely powerless in this part of the transaction. We have to depend upon you to do your part of the job. So here are the questions once again. 1, where are you from? If they're located 100 miles west of DFW when the house is 50 miles east of DFW, that might be a clue you've got the wrong person. 2, have you done any appraisals in our area recently? Then question them to see if they really do know the area. Talk about how the neighborhood character changes once you cross X street, or something else peculiar about your area that will quickly let you know if they're familiar with the area. 3, I've got some sales information for you. How's the best way to get it to you? If they don't want it, you don't want them. And 4, meet them at the house. Try to make a friend, plus give them your card and encourage them to call you if they have any questions. They usually won't, but you will have tried. Now, under the new rules and laws, there's no reward for an appraiser to do a good appraisal. If you don't like those laws, then get out and vote in November. Now, here's a surprising fact. VA appraisals are the best. They're done to the old standards, and while VA still picks the appraiser for you, they have high standards of performance the appraiser must meet, so fewer duds. And then there's the fact you get to talk to the appraiser. You get to ask questions of the appraiser. You get to give them data and even easily contest their values and conditions.
VA is the Darth Vader overlord, and they'll cut appraisers off with their lightsabers if they get too many complaints, if they have values contested too much, or make too many mistakes. They can lose an awfully lot of their livelihood if they lose the right to appraise VA loans.
Now recently I've heard of a couple of builders complaining about VA appraisals, but I don't see where they really had much room to complain. The builder's rep didn't meet the appraisers, and they didn't give them comps, and more importantly, their lenders just weren't all that conversant with VA loans and standards. They didn't know how to handle everything. They didn't know you could talk to the appraisers. They didn't even know you could contest the values. They didn't know that if all else failed to have the veteran call. We know VA loans well. It's one of the many reasons we're a top-tier lender. Once upon a time, we only did VA loans. We love VA loans. Yes, there's more paperwork, but underwriting and appraisals are so much better than FHA. Well, I hope this has helped you understand the need for some personal involvement and selectivity in the appraisal process. If you did, then you'll have made yourself some money. Of course, the best way to handle this is just to let Financier's Mortgage Group handle the whole loan process. I don't understand why, if it doesn't cost you any more, you'd use a regular lender when a top-tier lender is here begging for your business. We're not the biggest nor the smallest, but we are one of the bestest. So until next time.